At times I felt like I was watching a Hallmark movie that they just shoved animatronics into. Hey everyone, my name is Gavin and I love horror. After literal years of anticipation, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie from Blumhouse Productions is finally here, and I take no pleasure in saying it was completely disappointing. Let's get into it. Be sure to leave a like for this video and subscribe to the channel. I am marching towards 5,000 subscribers, which I could not have done without all of your help. And you guys, every day, every time you share one of my videos, every time you comment, you make my dreams of YouTube fame a little closer to reality. So thank you so much for all of that. So be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, I will be giving some spoilers here for Five Nights at Freddy's, so I wanted to give you the spoiler warning just in case you have not seen the film yet or you don't want to be spoiled. I do want to start by saying that I am by no means a super fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's series. I really have no dog, or in this case, a bear, in this fight. I mean, come on, I played the first game for the first time, like in the past 2 weeks. You can check out my video on that here. It's very funny, and yeah, I did get jump scared by an almost 10-year-old game. It still holds up. I liked it. But I don't know any of the lore. I've never watched a MatPat video breaking down the difference between like Toy Bonnie and regular Bonnie or any of that stuff. So I had no real expectations going in to the Five Nights at Freddy's movie other than a vague knowledge of what the games actually were. But this has been a good year for high-profile adaptations. I mean, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves was way better than it had any right to be, and even the Super Mario Brothers movie was actually a pretty fun time, aside from way too much Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. Like, I love Donkey Kong, but I hate Seth Rogen, so mixed feelings. Even with no expectations, I still couldn't help but walk away from Five Nights at Freddy's feeling disappointed. And I think I'm disappointed mostly because it feels like a huge step back for adapted properties. I'll get to what I think is the most disappointing part of Five Nights at Freddy's here in a bit, but let's start with the story. The story follows Mike, played by Josh Hutcherson, or as we've all just been calling him, you know, that guy that played PETA in the Hunger Games. Mike watched his younger brother get abducted when he was younger, and he has a lot of guilt over that. At some point, his parents die, and he's left to take care of his sister, Abby. He has a really hard time keeping a job because he beat up somebody in a mall while working security because he thought this guy was abducting somebody. He's got what we like to call the PTSD. He takes the only job he can get at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza as the night security guard, and if you've played the game, you know that Freddy, Foxy, Chica, and Bonnie are gonna be there and gonna do all the jump scares. But then they kind of don't. Like, Five Nights at Freddy's games live and die by jump scares. That's their whole thing. They build the jump scare. And I know you can't just recreate the game because it'd be very boring just watching a security guard flip between cameras for 2 hours. Like, I get that. But try to build some suspense. Try to build the jump scares. It's Five Nights at Freddy's. Where is the jump scare? Ah! Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't know what kind of movie it wants to be. Does it want to be scary? Does it want to be heartwarming? At times I felt like I was watching a Hallmark movie that they just shoved animatronics into. Like, I half expected Freddy Fazbear to reconnect with his old girlfriend over Christmas vacation. Like, why am I watching a custody battle in a movie about a haunted Chuck E. Cheese characters? And there is a lot of lore to the Five Nights at Freddy's series, and the movie does its best to try to get as much lore in as they can. Like, some of this lore includes, dead kid ghosts being shoved into fursuits. What? Like, maybe let's spend some time on that instead of doing a flashback for like a 15th time. Let's focus on the dead kid ghosts being in Freddy Fazbear. Can we talk about that for a minute? Let's not gloss over there's kid ghosts in the suits. They do rely on flashbacks a lot to fill things in, and much like Exorcist Believer, there are some sections in this that drag. I don't know what this obsession is with everybody trying to make like the longest movie possible. Five Nights at Freddy's is a 90-minute movie tops. It's a 90-minute movie that for some reason is almost 2 hours. It's too long. Trim some stuff. Tighten it up. Get it tight. I don't like saying get it tight. However, not all is lost, everybody, because there are some really good bright spots in Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, it's not just a negative review. It's not. I take no pleasure in doing negative reviews, by the way. Yeah, I know they tend to do better in the algorithm when I'm just super negative, but you know, I do enjoy things sometimes, and I did enjoy some of Five Nights at Freddy's. For instance, I thought the animatronics that were done by the Jim Henson Creature Shop were absolutely fantastic. They nailed the look of all the characters of Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy. They all look great. And I mean, it's the Jim Henson Creature Shop. They're gonna nail it. And I love that they're real animatronics or people in fursuits acting. I'm glad they went that route instead of doing like CGI. I love practical effects, and the practical effects in this are done very well. So it was cool to see these characters come to life. So I loved that aspect. They absolutely nailed that. So good on them for not bastardizing like what the FNAF characters look like. And it is no surprise that Matthew Lillard is absolutely fantastic. Matthew Lillard's all over this movie, whether he's playing the hapless job recruiter or being revealed to be the evil, diabolical William Afton. Matthew Lillard just chews up the scenery, no crumbs left, eats it up. I'm trying to connect with you kids. Do you say that? Eat them up, no crumbs left? Do you still say that? Please tell me you do. If not, it's just sad when I try to connect. But Matthew Lillard is just so good, and he deserved to be in a better movie. Which brings me to what I think is the most disappointing aspect of Five Nights at Freddy's, and that is, it's just not very fun. It's not a very fun movie. I've heard a lot of people say that Five Nights at Freddy's is kind of like the Gen Z version of Goosebumps. Like, it's scary, but it's for kids, and you have a lot of fun. Like, I look back fondly at those Goosebumps specials from Fox Kids, like Haunted Mask, Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns. Those are all really fun. You can go back, watch those, and still have a fun time. And that's what this movie should have been. It should have been a really fun love letter to the fans who love this series. It should have been fun, should have been jump scares, but it's just too serious. It's too serious and not very fun. And for the record, I know there's been some discourse online like, why is this PG-13? It was always gonna be PG-13. We have this discussion every time there's a PG-13 horror movie. Blumhouse did it with Megan. They need that sweet, sweet teen money, even though they also released it on Peacock the same day. So they also hate that sweet, sweet teen money. I don't know. I watched it on Peacock and I felt like I got my money's worth at least that way. But it was never gonna be R-rated. So get that out of your head. It was never gonna be R-rated. It was always gonna be PG-13. And even for the PG-13, it does push the envelope a little bit. There was one kill where I was like, oh, they just ate that lady in half. They just nommed her. Okay. Overall, Five Nights at Freddy's for me was massively disappointing. Even with no expectations, I still am disappointed because they had an opportunity to make a genre-defining movie for a beloved game series, and they just really took a step back and said, you know, we can put these characters in a mediocre script and people will still see it regardless. And that's such a huge step back from all the progress we've made for licensed properties. It's this kind of laziness that gave us movies like House of the Dead or Blood Rain or like Resident Evil Apocalypse. You gotta do better. You can make good movies with these properties. Don't get lazy, Hollywood. We deserve better. And while the animatronics by Jim Henson's Creature Shop are great and Matthew Lillard is wonderful, this is still a bad movie, which is why, unfortunately, I have to give it a 2 Nights at Freddy's out of a 5 Nights at Freddy's. But what did you think? Were you a fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, or were you also disappointed? Did you have higher expectations? Let me know in the comments below what you thought about the movie, and who is your favorite character in the game series. Let's talk about it. As always, please leave a like for this video and subscribe to the channel. It all helps me out a ton, and I greatly appreciate it. And until next time, stay weird.